Our best deal of the year is live right now. DailyWire Plus annual memberships, 50% off. Stop waiting. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe to join now. The House has voted 427-1 to release the Epstein files. In this divided political environment, an all but unanimous vote from the House of Representatives is an amazing testament to the persistence of interest in this issue. As of last week, the president himself was calling for the release of the files. Now, both the legislature and the executive have put their stamp of approval on it, which means, by the way, for those of you who do not understand how Washington works, that you will never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, find out anything more than you currently know about what Jeffrey Epstein was actually up to. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. There's a ton more I want to get to. Pope Leo is clarifying his views on immigration. It's really, really important. A very prominent trans-identifying YouTuber becomes Christian. We'll get into exactly what that means. And Zohran Mamdani keeps asking people for money. That last one should not be that surprising. We will get into that, though. First, I want to tell you about Armra. Go to armra.com/Knowles. True self-reliance begins with taking control of your health. Armra Colostrum harnesses nature's original blueprint for resilience. Packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients, colostrum fortifies your gut and strengthens your immune system from the cellular level up. When you invest in your health, you invest in your ability to show up fully, think clearly, and stay in control no matter what comes your way. Our bodies are under constant assault. Toxins, processed foods, relentless stress. Your gut is the first line of defense. Most supplements only address part of the problem. Armra Colostrum is different. This is not just another supplement. It's a bioactive whole food, a pure concentrate of bovine colostrum that is sustainably sourced with a commitment to calf-first sourcing. It is packed with over 400 bioactive nutrients that fortify your entire gut wall system, not just one piece. This means balanced and strengthened immune health, better digestion, less bloating, and support for healthy metabolism and fat burning from the inside out. Elite athletes have been using colostrum for years because it enhances nutrient absorption, builds lean muscle, and speeds up recovery. The benefits go deeper to the cellular level. Right now, we have worked out a special offer for our audience. Get 30% off your first subscription order. Go to armra.com/Knowles or enter Knowles to get 30% off your first subscription order. armra.com/Knowles. Become a Giga Chad like Mr. Davies. Okay, before we get into anything, just real quick, the story dominating all the headlines on the left, on the right, in the establishment media, in the new media, so-called, the Epstein files. The House has just voted unanimously, almost, to release the Epstein files. Now, one guy voted against it. So, of course, you look at that, 427-1, on an issue that has been characterized as, on the one side, if you're in favor of release, it means that you want transparency and democracy and accountability. If you oppose release, it means you support pedophile reptile people mobbed up with the CIA and Mossad blackmailing our entire government. That's basically how this has been presented to the world. And so you got to ask, well, who's the guy who votes no on that? To me, when all the Democrats and all the Republicans agree on something and there's one guy who says no, my gut tells me that guy probably has a point. When all the Republicans and all the Democrats in Washington agree on something, I'm skeptical of that thing. So the person is Representative Clay Higgins, and here's his argument. Here's why he doesn't want the Epstein files released. He says, I've been a principled no on this bill from the beginning. What was wrong with the bill 3 months ago is still wrong today. It abandons 250 years of criminal justice procedure in America. As written, this bill reveals and injures thousands of innocent people, witnesses, people who provided alibis, family members, etc. If enacted in its current form, this type of broad reveal of criminal investigative files released to a rabid media will absolutely result in innocent people being hurt. Not by my vote. The Oversight Committee is conducting a thorough investigation that's already released well over 60,000 pages of documents from the Epstein case. That effort will continue in a manner that provides all due protections for innocent Americans. If the Senate amends the bill to properly address privacy the privacy of victims and other Americans who are named but not criminally implicated, then I will vote for that bill when it comes back to the House. Okay, totally reasonable. I know, put me against the mob here. I think that's totally reasonable. In fact, I think the whole framing of the Epstein files thing is kind of silly. Look, I'm very curious about Epstein. I don't believe the official story of how he died. I don't believe the official story of how he operated. I suspect he was in some way connected to intelligence. I want to know why that is. And we'll get to why people care so much about that. And obviously you want some justice for the victims. All those things are true. But the whole idea of the Epstein files being kept under lock and key, first of all, that's obviously not true because we keep seeing the Epstein files. They keep leaking. Democrats keep posting them, or Republicans alternately keep posting them. And we've read a lot of them. We have over 60,000 pages of them. What does that even mean to release it? It means release more of the Epstein files, take away some of the redactions, even release accusations that were later retracted. Even, what does it mean exactly? Here is Mike Johnson's take on it.
All right. Number 5, national security concerns, okay? The discharge requires the Attorney General to release within 30 days, quote, classified information to the maximum extent possible. This ignores the principle that declassification should always rest, and always has rested, with the agency that originated the intelligence. Why? So that they can protect their critical sources and methods. It is incredibly dangerous to demand that officials or employees of the DOJ declassify materials that originated in other agencies, in intelligence agencies.
Okay, so here we have effectively an admission that Epstein was involved in intelligence, which I think everybody at this point should know. Anyone who's paid 2 seconds of attention to the Epstein case should know. Saying it's irresponsible to just release all of the files because we should only be releasing intelligence, or rather the origination of releasing that intelligence should come from the agencies that were involved. In other words, the agencies were involved. Now, it doesn't mean that Epstein was Jason Bourne or James Bond. It means that, it could mean that, or it could mean that he was operating, he was doing whatever he was doing, and then the intelligence agencies came in and squeezed him. And he informed for them, or he was some kind of asset for them, or in some way he worked with them. In any case, it is now certainly beyond a shadow of a doubt, Epstein was involved in some way with intelligence. Over the years, we've seen hints of this. Reportedly, Alex Acosta, U.S. attorney in the Epstein case, who then was up for labor secretary under Trump 1, he reportedly said when he was explaining his role in the Epstein case that he was told to lay off because Epstein belonged to intelligence. We know the connection of the madam of Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, whose father worked for Israeli intelligence and probably MI6 and probably the KGB, and it seemed like he was a double or triple agent too. So this is it. This is, I guess, my frustration with the Epstein thing is I have all the same questions everybody else does. But it's so disingenuous because the way that the Epstein case is being presented now, today, is it's being presented by Democrats as a Trump scandal. The Epstein issue long predates Trump's entry into politics. And for most of the time, it was Republicans, including Trump, who were pushing for more transparency on Epstein because it was a Bill Clinton scandal, because it was a Democrat scandal. And now each party says what's a scandal for the other party. But at bottom, what everyone is pretending is that the reason to release the Epstein files, the reason to get to the bottom of the Epstein case is justice for the prostitutes, including, in some cases, underage prostitutes. Girls are being trafficked by Epstein. But that's what it's supposedly about. And that's not what it's about. That's part of it. Obviously, you want justice for all sorts of victims. That's not why people care. That has almost nothing to do with why people care. The reason people care primarily about the Epstein case is because they want to know how corrupt our government is, how compromised our government is, who's pulling the strings, who's calling the shots. That's why people care. People don't really care for some perp, some, rich guy who went to Epstein's Island who slept with a girl, be she 21 or 17. Worse, obviously, if she's underage. They don't want him to be brought to justice. That's not primarily it. Like, sure, I guess he should, but What this is about was American intelligence involved in an underage prostitution ring, potentially an underage blackmail prostitution ring, and even more so, was foreign intelligence involved? And the big accusation is that Epstein was mobbed up with the Mossad, with some kind of Israeli intelligence. Obviously, he was friends with Ehud Barak, former prime minister of Israel. In some ways, though, the Barak relationship almost undermines the Israeli intelligence angle, because Epstein was funding Barak, and Barak is a left-wing Israeli politician, so he's out of favor with the current Israeli government. And anyway, it's sort of complicated. But regardless, that's why people care. That's what they want to know. They don't want a perp list primarily. I don't think, like, I'm sure they'd take it, but they don't even exactly want justice for the victims, though that would be good too. The main driver of interest in the Epstein case is, what intelligence agencies was he mobbed up with? To what degree was he mobbed up with them? What was the nature of his infrastructure? What was the nature of his operation? And who's pulling the strings in the American government? That's what people care about. And you're not going to get the answers to any of those things. All of this, the files are going to be released, the black book, the names of the clients and the Johns. It is all a distraction. You are simply not going to get to the heart of it. That's really my frustration here. And you might upend regular prosecutorial procedure in the meantime for nothing, for a sideshow. Okay. Now, a little bit more to say on Epstein, and then much more to say on Zohran Mamdani in New York, the Pope in Rome, and a transvestite sort of right-winger converting to Christianity. First, though, I want to tell you about Lumen. Go to lumen.me/Knowles. You know what I've realized? A lot of things over the year, a lot of things. But one of them is that when your metabolism works the way it should, you feel it everywhere. More energy, better sleep, the whole deal. That is one of the very important reasons to start using Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It is so simple. You breathe into it first thing in the morning. It tells you whether your body's burning fat or carbs for fuel. I love it. You know, I'm kind of a Luddite. I don't love a lot of tech and electronics and everything. Lumen is so easy. You just blow into it. It gives you all the information. And then the best part is, some days I wake up, I say, I'm feeling like I want to be a little healthier today. And so you can pay attention to what it tells you. But if you just don't want to, you don't want to work out, you don't want to eat well, then you can just ignore it. It's up to you. You can do whatever you want, but at least you're getting the information. Lumen is terrific. I really highly recommend it. Winter is the perfect season to build strength from within. Stay energized, stay resilient, take charge of your metabolism. Go to lumen.me/Knowles, KNWLAS. Get an additional 15% off your Lumen. LUMEN.me/Knowles, KNWLAS, for 15% off on top of any other offers or sales running on the website. Folks, tomorrow, Thursday, we are filming another bar fight, another episode. This would be episode 3 of Bar Fight in Nashville. It's on Lower Broadway. Doors open 7:30 p.m., Redneck Riviera. We have got really great guests. Zina Ikemi, I'm probably mispronouncing her name. Zina and Luke Beasley will be there. RSVP link in the description. Go check it out if you're in town. It's going to be a lot of fun. Real quick, just to put a button on the Epstein thing, what are we finding out? Just so you're caught up on the latest schoolyard shenanigans. One thing we're finding out is that, as the Democrats are claiming, this is a big Trump scandal and we're going to get to the bottom of it. And can you believe Trump had a relationship with Epstein? We're finding out that a Democrat congressman, Stacey Plaskett, was texting Jeffrey Epstein trying to get good questions to grill Trump's associates on during a congressional hearing. Democrats colluding with Jeffrey Epstein himself to try to get Trump. This was first reported by the Washington Post. It was a 2019 House Oversight Committee hearing with Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen. So we're told it's a big scandal that Trump palled around with Jeffrey Epstein 25 years ago. But meanwhile, you've got Democrats saying like, hey, Jeff, buddy, what's going on? Give me some good stuff that I can slam Trump's lawyer with. Here is how Jamie Raskin, Democrat member of the House, defended his colleague for, sitting up late at night, kicking her feet up on the bed, saying, hey, Jeffrey, you up? What's going on?
Now, they want to take a former United States prosecutor, the representative of the people of the Virgin Islands, and without even going to the ethics committee, much less a court. They want to arraign her on some charges based on a newspaper article that she did something lawful. However ill-advised it may have been, she took a phone call from one of her constituents.
One of her constituents. Is that what we're calling him now? Yes. Hey, did you hear the latest about Jeffrey Epstein? Jeffrey Epstein, you're talking about that famous constituent? Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah. The constituent, Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, of course. Okay. Such hacks. They ask Hakeem Jeffries, Democrat leader in the House, hey, isn't it weird that one of your members, you're all talking about how this guy's like the devil incarnate and he was mobbed up with Trump, and yet you guys are on a texting basis during congressional hearings?
Why should Americans trust you and House Democrats on the Jeffrey Epstein files when one of your own, Congresswoman Plaskett, was found to be texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a hearing, getting information from him, using that in her questioning during a congressional hearing, and at one point he tells her, good job?
This is a bipartisan effort to make sure that, consistent with what the survivors have requested, that there's full and complete transparency, and every single predator who may be in those Justice Department files doesn't escape accountability.
Hey, what do you make about the major Epstein scandal within your party with a member of your own party during a congressional hearing? Beep, boop, we're going to bring justice, beep, beep. It's so cynical. It's so tedious. This is Jasmine Crockett, the new leader of the Democrats, the spiritual zeitgeist leader of the Democrats. She comes out. She's got a real hit on Lee Zeldin, who was a former Republican congressman, ran for governor of New York. Now he's the EPA administrator under Trump. She says Lee Zeldin took money from Jeffrey Epstein.
Folks who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly: Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin, George Bush, Win Red, McCain Palin, Rick Lazio. I just want to be clear. If this is the standard that we're going to make, just know we're going to expose it all. And just know that the FEC filings, they are available for everybody to review. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Okay, so you hear all those names, and I don't know if he donated to Rick Lazio or whatever, all these other people, they haven't come out. But at least Lee Zeldin has come out, and he said, yes, Jasmine Crockett, a physician named Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a totally different person than the other Jeffrey Epstein, donated to a prior campaign of mine. No freaking relation, you genius. And he did the little clapback emojis. So now we're in this phase where it's just anybody. He got a donation from somebody named Jeffrey. Coincidence? Yes. But then there's a further irony, because the Democrat leader in the House of Representatives has just been revealed to have solicited a donation from the actual Jeffrey Epstein.
Colleagues' coordination with Epstein. Another email shows Democrat fundraisers invited Epstein to an event or to meet privately with Hakeem Jeffries as part of their 2013 effort to win a majority. So Hakeem Jeffries' campaign solicited money from Jeffrey Epstein. That's what we found in the last document batch.
Oh my goodness. These poor Democrats. They say, they probably should look into their own campaign finances before they lob an attack on Republicans and say you raised money from Jeffrey Epstein, especially when the Republicans raised it from a different Jeffrey Epstein. They raised it from the right one. Oh my goodness, it's all so tedious. This is it. This is my frustration with the thing. I know if in any way you oppose the mob, and you say the Epstein story is a little bit of a distraction. They say you were on Epstein Island. I can tell you, I've never been on Jeffrey Epstein's island, never flew on the airplane, I never took a campaign donation from him. I just am looking at this story and I say, okay, it's all hackery. It's all cynical. It's all opportunistic. It's been a Democrat scandal, then a Republican scandal, then a Democrat scandal. It's all the way they're talking now about the victims is completely disingenuous. The way that they're talking about revealing anyone who's been accused of any crime is legitimately contrary to standards of justice and persecution. It's also frivolous. It's such hackery. Tell me who Jeffrey Epstein was working for, if anyone. Tell me the extent to which he was working with those people, be it the CIA, be it Mossad, be it Blofeld's criminal organization Spectre. I don't know. Tell me who he was working for, to what extent he was working for those people, when their relationship began and what it was for, or shut up about it. Because that's, as a matter of geopolitics, that's the only thing that matters. And that's really the only reason people care about it. So they want to know the degree of corruption in the U.S. government, who, if anyone, is pushing pressure valves in the U.S. government, controlling the U.S. government. That's what they want to know. So tell me that or shut up about it. But this constant Jerry Springer, Maury Povich sideshow is so preposterous. It's such a waste of time. Okay, speaking of Democrats being wasteful, Zohran Mamdani, the recently elected jihadi communist in New York. Zohran, the scorpion don't change its nature. Zohran is asking for money.
It's been 2 weeks since we won the election. We've been pretty busy.
Rejects the Democratic Socialist Zohran Mamdani.
Too often, this is a time of just celebration as opposed to preparation. We want to make it both.
A lot of these things are new, but one of them is pretty old. Fundraising. But why are we fundraising? Well, we have less than 50 days until we take office, and we have a lot to do. We have to vet the 50,000 resumes we've received. Thank you. We have to keep paying our incredible team. Thank you. And we have to plan not just our inauguration, but our policy implementation. Now, unlike the campaign, transitions do not get public matching funds from the city. So that 8-to-1 match, gone. It's up to us to raise the money. Usually campaigns take that as an opportunity to rely on wealthy donors, but that's not us. You've already been incredible. We've raised more than $1 million in just 2 weeks. Our average donation is around $77, and more than 12,000 of you have donated so far, which is much lower than the last administration's transition. But we're still asking for your help because we need to raise $4 million in total, so January 1st can be the day we start to deliver, not start to prepare. I hope very soon not to have to ask you for money, but until then, I'm asking for you to go to transition2025.com and give whatever you can to help build a New York that everyone can afford. This is your city, and I can't wait to get to work.
That was pretty fast. Hey, I know I just got elected. I need you to give me a lot of money. And he's saying it's to implement his policy. It's really just to keep the campaign machine rolling. The political operation has to keep going on. All of his operatives, all of his hacks need to keep getting their nice paychecks. And you got to pay for it because he's no longer getting an 8-to-1 matching funding from the city, meaning taxpayers are no longer funding his takeover of New York against their will in many cases. So he needs you to pay for it. But don't worry, he looks forward to the day when he's not going to be asking you for more money. I think that day is going to be February 31st, 20 Get used to Zohran Mamdani asking you for money. Thing I got to point out, though, about him, he's a very fine politician, isn't he? He is a talented politician. He when he asks you for money, he's charming about it. He's a talented politician. The Muslims in New York, the radical Muslims, think this guy is Saeed Qutb. They think he is Osama and al-Zarqawi rolled into one. They think he is the real deal hardcore Muslim. And the libs in New York think that he is just another vapid, could be tatted up, could be septum pierced, millennial, hipster, vocal fry talking lib. And he's managed to convince both of these radically different constituencies of radically different things. He's a very good politician. And now he's shaking down people for money to keep his political operation moving, to shake down New Yorkers for a lot more money. Okay, that was pretty fast. Now, that's not even the craziest thing. That's actually totally to be expected. Mamdani has said something that is pretty crazy, though. It shows you the extent of his radicalism and a real threat to the federal government, threat to the rest of the United States. We'll get to that in 1 second. First, though, I want to tell you about Pure Talk. Go to puretalk.com/Knowles. Folks, you have to listen to this. I hope you listen to all of the ad reads, but this one in particular, you have to listen to. I might be saving you an insane amount of money for like the rest of your life. Right now, with Pure Talk, you can get unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data with a 30 gig hotspot for just $29.95 per month for life. Now, I don't think you need unlimited data, but some people like the comfort of having it. They just think they're never going to run out. Whatever. Unlimited talk, unlimited text, unlimited data with a 30 gig hotspot for less than $30 a month for life. This is Pure Talk's top tier plan. It's normally $65 a month. On from other companies, it would be much, much more than that. You're getting the crazy fast 5G network here. Now through December 7th, $29.95 a month. You're saving over 50% a month every month for life. Get this right now. I don't know how to say it any more bluntly. Get this right now. The offer is extremely short-lived. Make the switch today. Tell all your friends. puretalk.com/Knowles for Pure Talk's best unlimited plan. Just $29.95 a month for life. Keep your number. Keep whatever you want. Make the switch in as little as 10 minutes. You start saving with unlimited for life. Just $29.95 per month ASAP. puretalk.com/Knowles. Switch to my wireless company. Pure Talk, taxes and fees not included. Some restrictions apply. See puretalk.com for details. Offer ends December 7th. Zohran Mamdani, not yet mayor, has come out. He has said that New York City is a city of international law, and he is promising to arrest Bibi Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, if Netanyahu steps foot in New York.
Now, you and Mayor Eric Adams, your guys' team, have met to discuss the transition. You two haven't met yet. When do you plan to meet?
He's currently abroad. When he returns, we'll be having that meeting.
Yeah, so he is in Israel. He's leaving for Israel today. He seems to be sort of needling you a little bit in these final days and certain policy moves that he's been making. But he also invited the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to come to New York City on your first day when you're being sworn in. You've said in the past that you want to arrest Netanyahu for alleged war crimes. Do you plan to arrest Netanyahu on your first day?
So my plan on my first day is to become sworn in as the next mayor of New York City and start to deliver on an affordability agenda. I've said time and again, this is a city of international law, a city that believes in those values, and one that should honor the warrants that have been issued by the International Criminal Court, be it for Vladimir Putin or Benjamin Netanyahu. And I've also said that unlike Donald Trump, I'm not going to create my own set of laws. And what that means is exhausting every single legal option. Now, the mayor is free to travel.
Okay. So he says, yeah, I'd like to arrest him, but I know I can't get away with it. And I know. On the left, they all want to arrest Netanyahu right now. On the right, there's a little bit of a split. And the younger, more avant-garde, more online right probably would like to arrest Netanyahu too, or at least doesn't like Netanyahu. There are other people on the right, a little bit older, a little less online maybe, who love Netanyahu, think he's the greatest guy ever. And I think most people are somewhere in the middle and they have mixed views on Netanyahu. Regardless of your view on Netanyahu, regardless of your view on the nation state of Israel, regardless of New York City is not a city of international law, in as much as the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction whatsoever in New York City or Detroit or Atlanta or Chicago or Los Angeles or any other place in the United States. We just hear liberal politicians say these slogans and we think they therefore must have some kind of meaning. Oh, New York is a city of international law. It's not. I mean, it is in some conception of the international law. But when we're talking about brass tacks, what this lady's talking about here, should Netanyahu be arrested on behalf of the International Criminal Court? No, Mamdani can't do that because the United States is not a party to the Rome Statute. Meaning that the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction here because we're not going to let some freaking libs overseas come in and arrest our politicians. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. This country in its character will let itself go down in flames before we ever allowed that to happen. And we sure as hell aren't going to let it happen when we're the global hegemon. For the happy moments that we remain the global hegemon. Not going to happen. Sorry. So anyway, he knows that. That's why he's trying to keep his cred with both the Muslims and the leftists who elected him. Say, yeah, I want it. I hate Netanyahu. I'm real, man. I'm cool. I'm still from the streets, but I'm not going to because I don't have any power. Also, I don't have any money. Can you give me money? I also can't do anything. Can you please help me do something? Now, turning to legitimate international law, we talk about to what degree there are transnational authorities. We turn to the church. Switching from the Muslims to the Catholics here, Pope Leo has been under a lot of fire. The Holy Father has been hit from the political right because they say, oh, he's a big lib, just like his predecessor, Pope Francis. And, but basically the attacks on Leo, political attacks from the right, have kicked up almost with the same vitriol that you had against Pope Francis, who in some ways did make a lot of statements and choices that were puzzling, that did seem kind of liberal. In some ways, even that was overstated because he also, for instance, said that gay marriage is a machination of the father of lies that seeks to deceive and confuse the children of God. And he compared abortion to hiring a hitman. And he said that God can't bless sin when it comes to so-called same-sex marriage. And he said that transgenderism is fake and all the rest of it. But anyway, I grant Pope Francis did have a considerable amount of liberalism to his pontificate. Pope Leo is just being hammered from the right, and I feel largely unfairly, because he showed up to some pre-planned, global warming event and blessed a block of ice. Priests bless water, by the way. Pope Leo was just asked, can you clarify your opinion, as the American bishops have been hammering the Trump administration over the immigration and deportation policy? Can you clarify? Do you want open borders? You want mass migration? What is the Holy Father's position? Here's what he had to say.
The U.S. bishops have made a very strong statement about the deportation and detention of migrants. What do you think of it? And they kind of said that you've got their back. Were you behind that?
Well, I've made some statements about that already. I appreciate very much what the bishops have said. I think it's a very important statement. I would invite especially all Catholics, but people of goodwill, to listen carefully to what they said. I think we have to look for ways of treating people humanely, treating people with the dignity that they have. If people are in the United States illegally, there are ways to treat that. There are courts. There's a system of justice. I think there are a lot of problems in the system. No one has said that the United States should have open borders. I think every country has a right to determine who and how and when people enter. But when people are living good lives, and many of them for 10, 15, 20 years, to treat them in a way that is extremely disrespectful, to say the least, and there's been some violence, unfortunately. I think that the bishops have been very clear in what they said, and I think that I would just invite all people in the United States to listen to them. Thank you.
What did he say? Let's just, for people who didn't quite hear what he said or don't want to hear what he said, he said, no one is suggesting the United States should have open borders. Every country has the right to determine who comes in and when and how they do it. And for people who have been here even people who have been here for a long time, they should be treated respectfully and humanely. But there are courts and systems of justice that will determine what happens to those people. And what are the courts determining? Whether they stay or whether they go. The Pope, who we're told is for open borders and mass migration and no deportations, the Pope just came out and said, no one suggests, plenty of people on the left have suggested, but he's I think implying no reasonable person suggests that the U.S. should have open borders. Every country has the right to determine who comes in, when they come in, how they come in. And the U.S. has a system, like due process, to take people who are going to be deported and put them through it. And all he says is, there shouldn't be too much disrespect, inhumanity, violence, because these videos going around of the deportations, a lot of them AI, by the way, going around Facebook that like your boomer aunt is sharing, but it's not, they aren't real. They're made up. All of these things, he says, that's it. Enforce immigration law, but be decent about it. Does anyone disagree? I am generally speaking, I'm a son of the church. I defer in obedience to the Holy Father. I'm not slavishly, in every single matter. I don't think the Pope is infallible in most matters, obviously. But I try to be respectful to them. And Pope respecters, obedient sons of the church, totally vindicated here. Totally vindicated. The people who have a spirit of rebellion, who have a reviling spirit, who have, frankly, I would say a liberal spirit in and out of the church, who just, their knee-jerk reaction is to just whine and complain about the Pope. Totally knocked out here, huh? Totally not. This is good stuff. This is great. The Leo posting will continue. until the understanding improves. This is good stuff. Now, speaking of Christianity, a very prominent, kind of right-wing, trans-identifying YouTuber is apparently converting to Christianity. But there's a big problem right now in his understanding. Maybe more than one. We'll get to it, though. First, I want to tell you about Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com, use promo code Knowles. We all know that we should be eating more fruits and veggies. Are we actually doing it? That's the hard part. That's where Balance of Nature comes in. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements are the original way to get a balance of color, taste, and smell from whole foods in a convenient form. What makes them extremely versatile is you can take them however works best for you. You swallow the capsules with water, you chew them, you can even open them up and mix the powder into your food or drinks. Inside each capsule, you'll find ingredients from 16 whole fruits and 15 whole vegetables that have been freeze-dried and lab-tested with no binders, fillers, or flow agents, just pure whole food ingredients ready to go wherever you do. Sometimes, I'm on the road, I'm not able to get all those fruits and veggies every single day. So Balance of Nature makes it super duper easy, and then we can all be gigachads. Around here, the office absolutely loves it. Go to balanceofnature.com, get your free fiber and spice supplement, plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer using promo code Knowles, KNOWLES. Once a year, every year, we give the best deal of the year happening right now. DailyWire Plus memberships, 50% off. Now, DailyWire Plus members get more than ever. New series, documentaries, movies. That includes our long-awaited 7-part cinematic series, The Pendragon Cycle, Rise of the Merlin, premieres January 22nd. For all access members, the legend begins early with exclusive access to episodes 1 and 2, Christmas Day. This is our best deal of the year. Do not miss it. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Save 50% now. My favorite comment yesterday, Lost in the West, says, every day my favorite podcasters tell me about the horrible things happening across the globe. And then these very smart and accomplished people ask, why are people choosing not to have children? No, actually, I'm not asking that. I told you why people are not having children. The chief predictor of having children or not having children is religiosity. It's not material resources. That's part of it. I get, sure, but it's not really. Programs to improve people's material conditions do not, by and large, improve birth rates. We can try them. I'm kind of for a spaghetti at the wall approach, but it doesn't really work. The notion that if you just make IVF a lot cheaper, IVF, which is an immoral practice, but even put that aside for a second, if you just make IVF a lot cheaper, all sorts of fertility treatments, that will improve birth rates, not really borne out in the data. Getting people to get married might have some effect, but that's tied in with the ultimate question. The only thing that reliably predicts people having children is religiosity. And what predicts people not having children is irreligion. And this is to your point when you say, well, terrible things are happening in the world. That's what, no, if you have a religious sense, you know that terrible things always happen in the world. You know that. And so it doesn't deter you. If you're a secularist, a materialist, an atheist, then bad things happening can discourage you and lead you to despair. Yeah, certainly. But that's why it all ties in. We're not confused. It's the lack of religion, which is why the government needs to promote religion as an existential matter for the political order. Okay, speaking of Christianity, Blaire White. You remember Blaire White? Blaire is a guy, but he sort of identifies as a girl, even though he admits he's not really a woman. But he did the procedure, he did the surgeries, so he looks more like a woman. He's one of the more persuasive transitions that there is, but he's a guy, and he admits that he's a guy. He now is saying he's converted to Christianity, but he's not ready to detransition. Here's why.
Do you ever consider detransitioning so you can be as God intended you to be? So that's an excellent question, and I'm glad you made it because I would have maybe forgot to talk about that. There are people, obviously, when you look at like people who are ex-gay Christians, who the way that they feel compelled to go forward when they find God or meet God is they're living a lifestyle like they're not gay anymore. They used to be gay and they're not. They're refraining from being gay. I've seen a couple of detransitioners who found God and that helped them in that, and then they, detransitioned and all of that. And so all of that is valid. If that's how you feel, called or what you're supposed to do, or that's your life, right? But this is mine. And I have not felt any calling or compulsion to detransition or radically change how I look or any of that, because I realized that, again, to me, the story of Jesus is that he transcended flesh. And what is all of this if not just how I've altered my flesh? It's just external, it's superficial. And if it's about being a man as God intended, y'all know I am the last person to ever deny that that is the way I was born, that I am still male, that I am still, by definition, a man. I don't care.
Yeah, I really like Blaire. I'm glad to see. I think he's pointed in the right direction. I think he's asking the right questions. I think he wants to go down the right path. There's a key error, a key stumbling block that he just expressed in that video. He said, you know, to me, the entire story of Jesus is how he transcended flesh. But of course, the opposite is true. The entire story of Jesus is the story of the cosmos because he's the divine logic of the universe. But the entire gospel story, the pivot on which history turns, is that Jesus became flesh. Et incarnatus est de Spiritu Sancto, ex Maria Virgine et homo factus est. That's the whole thing. When we read in the Mass, the last gospel, the Gospel of John, is the first lines of John, among the first lines of John. And the Word became flesh. That's the story, the incarnation, the central fact of history. And then the Word made flesh, who takes on full human nature, is crucified and conquers death on the cross, and is resurrected on the third day, and ascends bodily into heaven. The flesh is so important that the early Christian writer Tertullian says that the flesh is the hinge of salvation. That's the key. So Blaire is saying, well, I believe in God. I'm persuaded by Christianity. I'm persuaded by this person of Jesus. I want to follow Jesus. But and this is totally understandable. He's still caught up, and he's obviously especially caught up in the ideologies that dominate in our age, these confusing kind of Gnostic heresies. And that pertains to Christianity too, in as much as shortly after Christianity, after the Advent and the Incarnation and the Crucifixion and the Resurrection, there are these Gnostic cults that crop up that say, no, actually the flesh doesn't really matter. No, actually ignore what Jesus actually said and did. No, it's look, Christ, he's just like another version of the same pagan cults that we've all had for all of history, and the flesh doesn't matter, and it's all, we transcend the flesh and whatever, man. No. Christianity is irreducibly historical. Christianity is irreducibly physical in that God himself is embodied. And the faith that the church that he leaves to us is physical. And he picks real men, the apostles, and they pick real successors. And he institutes real sacraments. And he said the flesh of the Son of Man is real food. And if you don't eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in you. It's the flesh. It's the flesh. That's the key. So anyway, I don't say any of this to like own Blaire White with facts and logic. Far from it. Totally the opposite. I'm so delighted to see that he is on this path. And I think if he can get over that hump, that obstacle that has been placed in his way by our extremely Gnostic, POMO kind of culture, and see, oh, no, actually the opposite is true in Christianity, I think that will help him to at least begin to make sense of one of the big obstacles in his life. Okay, speaking of girls, Jonathan Haidt. You know Jonathan Haidt. He's the social scientist, very popular writer, wrote The Coddling of the American Mind. He just came out on the Free Press, Barry Weiss's outlet, and observed that liberal girls are more likely than conservative girls to be depressed. And conservative kids, it turns out, are more grounded.
Girls spend a lot more time on social media than boys. Liberal girls spend a lot more time than conservative girls. That didn't used to be the case, but as we get into the 2010s, when everything gets so politicized, we get into the Great Awakening, we get into the polarization, the illiberalism that is, that you and I have really been, writing about and talking about for a long time. As we get into the era, the feeds of the liberal girls gets much more taken over by how terrible the world is, everything's sexist, you're not going to get ahead. And this is like the greatest era of female progress that we're going through. But liberal girls are sort of caught in a set of disempowering ideas. And my previous book, The Coddling the American Mind, with Greg Lukianoff, was exactly about that. If you graph out liberal boys and liberal girls and conservative boys and conservative girls, it's the liberal girls who really rise first and fastest on depression. And the conservative boys are not up that much. So everyone is worse off, but being conservative seems to root you. You're not as easily pushed into this crazy world. Being in a religious family seems to root you, and those two things seem to be protective.
I love Jonathan Haidt because Jonathan Haidt is a liberal. And so he has all these liberal priors that he comes to, but then he arrives at conservative conclusions because he's an honest guy and he's trying to follow the truth. And then he always seems kind of surprised by those conclusions. So he says look, we all know we lived through the greatest period of female progress ever. We all know feminism's totally awesome, right? Like we all know liberalism is really, really great and it hasn't just made everyone miserable. It's really awesome. But here's this weird thing. All the conservative girls are way happier than the liberal girls. Isn't that weird? And actually, everyone's getting kind of unhappy, but it's the conservatives are more resilient than the liberals. I love Jonathan Haidt for that because it's this delightful sort of surprise. He's surprised by joy, surprised by conservatism, and then it's the same reason I love social science, to some degree at least, is in our dumb scientistic age, we need these like studies. We need all the studies to be published in all the journals, to come out and tell us things that we know by common sense, that we all know. Like, yeah, radical people, like libs, like big libs, who have had their brows furrowed for all of history. Big libs who are just like always angry and screechy. It turns out they're unhappy. They're less happy than the conservatives. The conservatives, the people who basically get along in the world and just, want to improve it in as much as we can improve it. Turns out they are happier than the libs. Wow. Stop the presses. One actual, a little more precise conclusion from Jonathan Haidt's comments, though. The two sides are not equivalent. The two sides are not equivalent. It's a fallen world, so everyone's got problems, but all things else being equal, the left is really, really messed up. And the right is normal. That's it. That's the conclusion to draw. Everyone's a little messed up because it's a fallen world. We're not in the Garden of Eden. But the left is like really, really, really messed up. And they have a ton of problems owing to their bad habits and their vices and their misperception of the world. And the right, by and large, is normal. And they, by and large, cultivate good habits that make them more resilient to bad social trends, to Tumblr, as Jonathan Haidt's pointing out, to whatever, to everything. And religious people on the right are like the most normal. And it's not just, chocolate and vanilla ice cream. Some like one, some like the other. Oh, you're on the left, I'm on the right. No. The leftism is evidence of a major problem in thinking and behavior and spirit. Right? It just is. And it's worse to be on the left than to be on the right. And it's not just chocolate and vanilla. And we should help our brethren. We should pray for them. We should try to pull them over here because the more on the left you are, the worse your life is going to be. Okay. Now, there's a man who would have called himself on the left and he came over to the right. It was like 150 years. I think it was actually during the French Revolution. That would be Mr. Andrew Klavan, who's coming on this show during the Member Segmentum. The rest of the show continues now. You don't want to miss it. Become a member. Use code Knowles, KNWLES, to check it for 2 months free on all annual plans.